I wanted to do something a little bit different today. It's been over 10 years now since I last competed in barista competition, but I thought it would be fun to go back and kind of watch through my performance as it was back then, and maybe explain a little bit about what was going on and some key things that I learnt from competing, from practicing, that may be useful to you if you want to compete in barista championships. Before we get started, sadly, there is not a high quality copy of this available. This is the best there is, and it's still pretty pixelated, so apologies for that. And secondly, yes, I did used to look ridiculous. The hair, the glasses, the lot, I know. Just put it aside for a second. Forgive me my past fashion indiscretions or whatever you want to say, and let's get into competing in Tokyo in 2007 in the World Barista Championship final. So, let's dive in.
It was with my great pleasure that I introduce World Barista Championship finalist number 3, the Barista Champion of the United Kingdom, Mr. James Hoffmann.
So just a quick thing to start us off. I just have to give Nick Cho a quick shout out here. He is probably my favorite MC, and I can't overstate the value of how good he used to make you feel as a competitor by bringing you on as the barista champion of the United Kingdom. Back when I was competing, that wasn't really normal, and it just felt really good. And I have to say, his voice, his tone, his manner, he is, I think, the quintessential WBC MC. So just a quick shout out to Nick Cho. I won't pause this too much. I'll try and talk over the top when I'm not speaking in the performance. But you know, just thinking about this, it seemed worthy of a shout out. All right, back we go.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Well rested, I hope?
Yeah, I lost my voice a little bit, but I'll try and speak up today.
Very good. Are you ready?
I am.
Judges, are we ready? World Barista Championship finalist. When you're ready, please start your timer and begin your presentation.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is James. I am delighted to be here. I'm actually going to start today with a little bit of signature drink preparation. I wanted to create a drink that used all the ingredients that, through their flavor marriage with coffee, have become part and parcel of the ritual of sitting back and really enjoying a cup of coffee. It's that cup that you want, not that cup that you need. Now I'm going to start 2 parts here on stage today. The first part is a bit of a challenge. I like to turn foods into parts of drinks. So I'm going to recreate biscotti as a foam. Now you can't use the finished biscuit, so I'm going to use the key ingredients and infuse them just into water. So with a pan, just some still water, and into that we're going to add some almonds and some toasted hazelnuts. I like the recipes for biscotti that have a little rosemary in there. It adds something to the nose that's really nice. A little gelatin, and just to sweeten that up, just a little sugar syrup. Now that'll infuse on the hob. At the same time, I'm going to do another infusion with a slightly unusual ingredient, which is tobacco. Now I want this not just for the really interesting flavor marriage, but also for the sensation it's going to bring to the drink. So we just have some half and half here, and some tobacco, and they're both going to heat up. If you get a chance, please do reach forward and just smell the tobacco. It has the most incredible aroma. So while these infuse, I'll prepare you each an espresso. Thank you.
Okay, I have to pause there just for a second. There's a few different things I want to unpack about that intro. Firstly, and this is a key thing, you have a really small number of words in a barista competition performance, and you have to be quite careful about how you spend your allocation of words. So for me, a big part of this routine, as it was back then, was to spend as much time at the table with the judges as I could. Everything that could be done at the table, I did at the table, because words have much more impact when you're close to someone, when you're face to face. Secondly, a huge part of barista competition, I think, is about trying to prime a judge to feel good about giving you a high score. It's about making them excited to taste something, making them feel good about you, making them open to giving a high score that's going to put them in a position where they're going to feel potentially a little bit of judgment from their fellow judges. they want to feel comfortable that when they say this is a 5 out of 6, that no one else in the room is going to say, "Are you insane?" Right? So psychology with judges plays a huge role. It's why I think often judges can make quite flawed barista trainers, because they presume judges to be kind of infallible when they're really not. So this drink I love to pieces, and I worked with the Fat Duck, a restaurant in the UK. Heston Blumenthal is the head chef there, quite famous, the proprietor. I worked with a guy called Chris Young, who is the head of their food research lab. He now runs a company called Chef Steps, and he was hugely helpful in this drink, which we'll come back to in a little bit. And I'll let me get on with making some espresso. Now, as I'm faffing away and prepping there, a couple of key things that people asked at the time. One, why did I use K30 grinders? At the time, people didn't think they were cool. Everyone loved Robers. And the truth was that I used those grinders because Malkoenig were willing to lend me 2 grinders to compete with. I had no money, no budget, and I didn't have an issue with what other people had issues with in terms of clumping, but people were really weirded out at the time that I'd used it. Now, competition is kind of a head wrecker because there's almost infinite choices of coffees to serve to those judges. So you've got to have a damn good reason to pick what you picked. And at the time, in 2007, it was such a different time, right? It was all blends, all trying to compose really sweet, rich, round, balanced things. And I just didn't find that interesting. I liked the idea of just tasting one thing, one farm, one place. And so that's why I chose a single estate from Costa Rica, because at the time, no one expected that to make a really great espresso. And that's another key tip. Playing with people's expectations is really useful. It's quite powerful when you, I think, deliver well on it. And I served a really unusual espresso, certainly for the time. Now it wouldn't be considered that weird, but back then it kind of did. So expectations are there to be messed with, and you can set them and break them, exceed them, whatever you're going to do. But that should factor into your coffee choices.
Today I'm going to serve you a single estate Costa Rican coffee. Whilst I do enjoy the thick, heavy-bodied chocolatey espressos, I also like to explore coffee, and this seemed a great opportunity just to serve you something very, very different. So I chose something perhaps a little unexpected. In the cup, on the nose certainly you should get a hint of hazelnut, roasted hazelnuts and nougat. But in the cup it should be light, delicate, fresh. Please, please, really, really stir this up, because at the bottom of this shot is the sweetest part, and it just gives the most wonderful finish that will linger all the way up to your cappuccinos. So please, enjoy. Thank you very much.
Quick note, you're going to catch me saying the word enjoy way too much in this performance. I think I'd been reading a bunch about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I was trying to do embedded commands or something like that a little bit. I was very influenced by people like Darren Brown at this point. This doesn't work. Or maybe it does a little bit, but feel free to mock me in the comments on that one. Now, caps, again, I chose to do something that was considered unusual at the time, which was use a single estate coffee from Kenya, which was the sort of antithesis of what people were trying to mix with milk to create a really balanced coffee drink. But I figured the super juicy, fruity thing expressed in milk really well was really clear. Much more important, though, was my failure. What I failed to do was consider my descriptors properly. I used the descriptor black currant quite a lot in this. I later found out that some of the judges didn't know what that word meant. Black currants aren't actually particularly universal as fruits. They're not very common in the US, for example. So be very thoughtful about the position your judges have when you try and put descriptors into their heads and into their minds. Being incredibly specific can backfire on you. Now, a couple more things. I used to shake horribly during barista competitions. I would get really nervous and I would shake a lot. And while I shake a little bit here, I didn't shake that much. And I'll tell you why. I didn't drink that much coffee before going on stage. And this is huge. Like, I tasted half of one espresso before I rolled out for practice time. Because what's easy to do is taste 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 shots backstage trying to dial in, and you hit the stage and you're nervous and you just shake like a leaf. So I would recommend having a team with you that can taste, get you in the ballpark, and when you're close to dialed in, then you taste, nail your descriptors, but you go on stage not very caffeinated. Second key thing here, it's about knowing the rules and knowing how to bend them. Back then, the rule was all 4 drinks had to be served simultaneously. So most competitors made all 4 caps, brought them to the table, put them down, and that was serving them. I emailed and said, can I pour my drinks tableside? They said, yes, sure, because I think they thought I would bring them up, pour all 4, put them down, and that would be that. Instead, having got their permission, I poured them one at a time and spoke to each judge as I did it to give me more time face to face with each judge. And that, I think, was crucial. And it became very quickly, I think, quite normal in Bristol competition. Once someone had bent the rule, it just sort of moved the goalposts. Third big tip, practice making mistakes. In the first round of this competition, actually in the first round the year before, I had failed to properly shut off my cappuccino shots, but I practiced messing up, so I made up the time, I finished a good time, I knew where to cut corners. Practice, 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 and practice making mistakes.
So for my cappuccinos, whilst again I do enjoy that espresso that's turned into chocolate and nuts by milk, I also wanted to serve you something different here. I wanted to find a coffee that could offer a different kind of interpretation of what a cappuccino can be. And in one single estate again, I found just that. So the estate that I've used for the cappuccino blend is one called Gettingwini. It's in Kenya. And if I was pushed, I'd probably say it's my favorite coffee this year. I've been drinking just a lot of it as filter coffee. And it's one of those coffees that just does not taste like coffee.
Terrible, terrible latte art, terrible foam depth. I know, these did not score that well.
In the cup when you drink this filter coffee, as it cools, it just turns all black currant. And that's what I wanted to do today.
So you can see here the judge in the kind of turquoise blue top. She Sigadora, witnessed one of the lowest moments of my career in 2005 when I was competing in the UK finals and I dropped 3 cappuccinos all over myself. So to have her as a judge in the finals when I won was actually a really lovely moment of circuitousness, of closing a loop, I guess.
But I think it's just delicious. I think it's unusual, I think it's different, but again, I like to explore coffee, I like to see what different drinks can be, and I really, really enjoy drinking this as I practice, and I'm really enjoying serving this to you today, so I really hope you enjoy it.
There's a story about Enjoy that I'll tell you right at the end after this thing is over that I think is hugely important for understanding this whole performance or why it might have worked or why the judges liked it. Not a great cap in terms of foam and all that kind of stuff. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the SIG drink. There's a really strange thing happens here on stage where we all arrived in Japan and discovered that if you wanted to use a cream whipper, the little nitrous charges were illegal because they're a kind of controlled drug in Japan in a way. So what you'll see me do in a second is hand off my cream whipper to Stephen Morrissey, who is my kind of coach, and he charges it backstage, because there's a special machine to do that, and sort of brings it back later. So it was really super confusing and strange. Again, anticipate the hard to anticipate. In my first heat in the finals, the 2 hot plates blew in the first round, and my hot drink was not hot. It ended up being a cold drink, and I didn't realize until I was putting them down on the table. They did offer me a chance to go again, but I didn't take it. I still made it to the finals, and you know that was good. But again, it was a good reminder for me that things go wrong. Practice, adapt, check.
It's all about a marriage of flavors. I felt that the nuttiness from the Costa Rican worked really well with this drink, but equally that the fruit from the Kenyan worked really well with the tobacco. So for this drink, I'll be using 2 shots of the Costa Rican coffee, mixed also with 2 shots of the Kenyan Getumbuni. That'll go into the tobacco-infused cream with a little chocolate, and that'll be the bottom of the drink, and a biscotti foam on top.
This drink was actually really, really delicious, but we'll come back to that. Again, know the rules and know how you can bend or break them. What was done here by pulling 2 shots of one coffee, 2 shots of another, was at the time right in the gray area of the rules. So, you know, you can do things if you know the rules really well. People compete without reading every single rule, and I think they're insane. This is a game based on making coffee, and I think you set yourself every advantage by knowing those rules super, super well. Speaking of rule changes, you might catch an inappropriate word in the music at some point. The year after this, they made it illegal to have swear words or inappropriate words in your barista competition music. I didn't really think about it too much. My music choice actually was stuff I liked to listen to, but I couldn't really hear it when I was on stage. I was too focused. And apart from the very last track, which is there to sort of set a mood, it was just stuff I liked and thought would be cool to play. A lot of people were doing kind of elevatory music type stuff, and that just never really fit with me that well. And Steven took it further the year after and just played a really fun soundtrack that really got the audience going. This was just kind of stuff I was into at the time. I regret nothing. One final thing. There are 4 glasses there. I had a spare or 2. They both broke backstage. Pack extra spares. You will always need more spare things. Bring extras. Do not do what I did and roll out on stage with 4 glasses only. If I had dropped one, broken one, damaged one, game over. That's not smart. Anecdote. I did almost kill Heston Blumenthal with an iteration of this drink. We gave him heart palpitations by giving him a sort of a tonic or a infusion of cigars that was not good for humans to ingest. So, you know, it was a strange day. Final note on Sig drinks. I keep saying final note, I know. Creativity is often misconstrued here. This drink has chocolate, nuts, cream, sugar in it. Those are the most obvious pairings in the world with coffee. Yet I think you can still be creative with those. This won Best Signature Drink that year. So the ingredients are not what make it creative.
Taking this somewhere you're very comfortable, deep leather armchair, wherever you like to go, and you're going to have a cup of coffee and really enjoy it. When I drink this, I like to take my time, so I like to start with a little spoonful of the biscotti foam, and then drink it down. You're welcome to stir, but you don't need to. What I do like is that just as I swallow, a little while later on, I get a warm tingle from the tobacco come through. When I get that, I like to sip again and just let the coffee and chocolate wash over that. I really like this. I hope you do too. This is for you.
So again, in the language, I was still definitely trying to prep the judges to have a good experience, trying to get them to think about being somewhere they wanted to be. All of that kind of stuff, I think, contributes to a judge having a better experience on stage. What I'm doing by moving the trays underneath, back again, know the rules. Back then they didn't judge underneath the table for cleanliness, so if you could get as much stuff off your table, it wouldn't be counted as being messy or judged in the sort of cleanup score in your tech sheet.
Judges, I hope you enjoyed this. I have very much. Audience, thank you very kindly for your support. Time.
It's so funny to watch this back.
Barista champion from the United Kingdom, James Hoffmann.
So I'll tell one final kind of story as I fade myself out here, which was in 2008, I was invited to an event in Poland, and they said, hey, 2 of the judges who judged you are here, so why don't you go up on stage and tell the story of your routine? And they'll come up afterwards and they'll tell the story of judging it. And so I deep dived, right? I went into like how I was trying to do clever things with the espresso and the Sig drink and the caps and all of the sort of neat technical things I was doing, how I was trying to subvert some of the tropes that back then, everyone started their competition performances the same way. They were like, "Hi judges, today I'll be serving you 4 espressos, 4 cappuccinos, and 4 signature drinks," as if somehow the judges didn't have that on the sheet in front of them. And so I went through all the kind of technical cleverness, I guess, that I was trying to do. And then they came up on stage afterwards and they talked for a little bit, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. And they wrapped up really quickly. And I leaned over to someone and said, what did they just say? They said, well, they don't really remember your performance detail for detail. All they really do remember is that they really enjoyed it. And so, that for me was a hugely illustrative thing that, as much as you might want to be clever and technical, it's important to have empathy for your judges and to think about how you want to make them feel as a part of your presentation, because I think that's hugely, hugely effective. Thanks for watching along. I hope you enjoyed me having a little bit of a reminisce and kind of talking through how I certainly used to think about barista competition. And while lots of the technical side of the comp has changed and the rules have changed, I think there's hopefully something in that you can take with you if you're going to compete and apply to what you want to do, the performance that you want to give, and the coffee that you are, I hope, excited to share. So ask any questions down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.